Morning sunlight filtered through the tall windows of Hogwarts, pouring golden ribbons across the great hall. The air was rich with the scent of newly baked bread and crisp autumn leaves. Squeaks echoed as the enchanted ceiling mimicked the outside world, where flocks of birds prepared for the season's change. Luna Lovegood drifted towards the Ravenclaw table, her hair caught up in a soft breeze that seemed to exist only around her. She wore radish earrings that swung like tiny pendulums, reflecting the whimsical tilt of her smile. Luna had an ethereal presence, as if any moment she might join the birds overhead. Yet her tranquility belied the steel that had grown during the war, the courage unearthed that lingered in her strange, stirring gaze. Luna glanced around the largely empty hall, her eyes landing on Neville Longbottom, a familiar comfort despite the scars of battle fresh in his memory. Neville, seated at the Gryffindor table, was lost in thought, his hands wrapped around a steaming mug of tea. His brow furrowed ever so slightly. He seemed to be pondering a particularly vexing issue about Mimbleless Mimbletonia. "Good morning, Neville," Luna called, floating over to him. Her voice was like a melody, weaving its way through the quiet. Neville looked up, his expression softening from worry to warmth. "Oh, morning, Luna. How are you today?" She plopped down beside him, her presence as grounding as it was airy. "I'm wonderful. I think Nargles have left the mistletoe near the herbology greenhouses. That should mean an early bloom this winter." Neville chuckled, his tension dissipating under Luna's odd, enthralling logic. "You have the most remarkable perspective, Luna," he mused. "It's nice to know some things never change." Together, amid the tapestry of their banter and easy silences, Luna and Neville found refuge from the rest of the world, cloaked within the safety of Hogwarts' ageless walls. As the aromas of breakfast mingled with the passionate whispers of their classmates, the castle felt alive, a breathing monument reborn from fire and ruin. In this ordinary cadence of life, Luna's dreams took root in the fertile soil of her imagination, while Neville's heart beat with a steadfast hope. Though separated by their houses, their spirits intertwined, seeking solace in the mundane, a shared glimpse of belonging. The threat of winter loomed, but beneath the surface, beneath the frayed edges of tattered robes and weary hearts, seeds were sown, for a garden, for friendship, for the possibility of love untangling from war's lasting shadow. The rhythmic crunch of autumn leaves underfoot signaled Luna's approach long before she emerged from the tree line. Neville, crouched in the dappled light of the forbidden forest's edge, was examining a patch of particularly resilient Gertie root. His attention shifted when Luna appeared, a vision of carefree curiosity amidst the stark shadows of twisted branches. "How extraordinary," Luna uttered, voice filled with the sort of awe that made the world seem wondrous, even here. "Did you know bowtruckles favor these areas when the leaves turn gold? They nurture the trees, ensuring their health through winter." Neville looked up, a smile finding its way to his lips. "Perhaps they're wiser than we know," he replied, his fingers brushing the soil tenderly. "After all, they choose only the sturdiest trees." Their eyes met, sharing a moment weighted with unspoken understanding. The forest breathed around them, a comforting presence as familiar to Hogwarts as the kindly eyes of an old professor watching over them. "I was thinking," Luna continued, her thoughts weaving delicately through the air, "if we create sanctuaries here, the displaced creatures will have somewhere to begin anew." "Yes," Neville responded quietly, his voice gathering strength. "A safe haven, a chance to regrow like us." In their shared silence, the possibilities unfolded like petals, blooming in vibrancy against the dense, forgotten green. This meeting of souls, at once tentative and inevitable, whispered of more than companionship. It hinted at the fragile shoots of something far deeper, nurtured by the simple, persistent magic. The gentle rustle of the forbidden forest had become a melody of its own, a soft symphony that enveloped Luna and Neville during their many afternoons on the fringe of known wizarding territory. Today, the air was crisp, carrying the scent of earth and the distant echo of cheerful laughter from the castle. Luna and Neville found themselves among the slender trunks and whispering leaves, where sunlight painted dappled patterns on the forest floor. Luna had taken to carrying a small satchel filled with an assortment of peculiar items, oddly shaped stones, nettle wine corks, and bits of parchment with scattered sketches of fantastical beings. Her knapsack seemed to hold a piece of every daydream she had ever chased. "What do you have there, Luna?" Neville asked, catching sight of yet another curiously shaped pebble she brought out. With a fleeting smile, Luna held it up to the light. "It's a gravel flicker stone," she announced with serene certainty. "They're said to hum when left under the moonlight. I thought it might help guide the mooncalves back during the next lunar phase." Neville nodded, entertaining the idea with an amused grin. He dug his fingers into the loam at his feet, carefully scooping around the roots of a small sapling they were planting, one of many in their burgeoning sanctuary. This place, once marked by the tumult of forgotten skirmishes, was now slowly transforming into a haven for creatures of all kinds, encouraged by the blend of Luna's imaginative ideas and Neville's botanical expertise. "You know," Neville began, brushing the soil gently, "I think there's a metaphor somewhere in all this planting. Something about new life sprouting where once there was only ruin." Luna nodded sagely, surveying the tiny tree with a look of enchantment. "Every seedling is a wish, Neville. Imagine all the dreams planted here, waiting for their time to bloom." As they worked, the sun inched lower, casting a warm glow that wrapped them in a cocoon of fading daylight. Their hands moved in harmony, gently lifting another young plant into its new home. "These little guys," Neville pointed to a group of bowtruckles that had gathered nearby, "seem to think we're doing a decent job." Luna leaned closer to examine them, her eyes aglow with delight. "Bowtruckles do prefer to oversee things," she mused, almost as if they're the forest's guardians. Around them, the forest seemed a world untouched by worry, a timeless sanctuary rising from the entangled roots of magic and nature. It was in moments like these that Luna and Neville found a quiet joy, a deepening bond forged by shared purpose and whispered conversations. When the work came to a lull, they settled against a tree trunk, their shoulders brushing in the familiarity of burgeoning affection. Neville noticed how Luna glanced around with a kind of delicate reverence, as if seeing the unfurling tapestry of the world for the very first time. "Luna, have you ever thought about what you'd like to do after?" His voice trailed off, filled with earnest curiosity. Luna turned, her gaze catching his with a hint of mischief playing in her eyes. "Oh, I think I'd like to travel," she said dreamily. "To places where the creatures speak in colors and the skies are woven from dreams. But for now, I'd like to see this sanctuary flourish, with a friend beside me." Her words settled into the air, gentle and profound. Neville felt a warmth spread through him, deeper than the autumn chill. Together they sat beneath the vast canopy, two kindred spirits finding solace, and yes, something akin to love, in the hushed sanctity of their haven. As the last vestiges of daylight retreated, leaving a tranquil evening in its wake, the forest around them stood changed, just like the bond now growing between them. It whispered of new beginnings, not only for the world they sought to nurture, but for themselves, in a friendship blossoming into the forever realms of possibility. Mornings at Hogwarts were usually a symphony of bustling bodies and hurried footsteps, yet today felt different, charged with a tension that hovered like a low-lying fog over the reawakening castle. Luna Lovegood moved through the corridors, her steps usually as light as gossamer threads, now weighed down with a quiet sense of something amiss. Neville Longbottom too found himself uneasy, his thoughts outpacing his stride as he crossed the courtyard. He couldn't shake the feeling that something, a feeling, a memory, a premonition had settled into the spaces between their burgeoning closeness. Their paths converged by chance near the herbology greenhouses, a familiar locale where blossoms of hope often flourished anew. Yet today the air felt thicker, their usual conversations punctuated by an invisible strain. "Isn't it getting chilly?" Luna remarked, attempting to find warmth in idle chatter. "I saw the first signs of frost this morning. Perhaps the mooncalves will find dancing rather cold now." Neville chuckled, albeit half-heartedly. "They've always been tougher than they appear," he replied, glancing at her with a conflicted heart. It was then that they were joined by a third presence, one embodying both history's shadows and newfound purpose. Professor McGonagall herself, robes swirling like a banner of forgotten courage. "Ah, there you both are," she began, a note of urgency lacing her voice. "There's something I need to discuss with you regarding the work in the Forbidden Forest." Luna and Neville exchanged a look, each attempting to gauge the other's reaction. "You see," McGonagall continued, a softened resolve in her eyes, "while your project is wonderfully ambitious, there's been concern from the Ministry about the creatures you might attract, beings that crave the remnants of magic left behind from the war." Her eyes softened as she glanced at them, the concern palpable. Neville's heart sank. He could sense the excitement and optimism they had been nurturing now teetering on an edge. "Forgive my hesitation, Professor," Luna interrupted, her voice a melody of gentle defiance. "But isn't new magic precisely what our community needs?" Professor McGonagall sighed, perhaps hearing echoes of past students in Luna's resolve. "Luna, it's not the magic they fear. It's the allure of dark remnants, the way they might draw unwelcome guests." Her words lingered, draped heavily over the morning's brisk chill. Neville felt a weight settle onto his shoulders. It was as if the world they had begun to construct in the delicate weave of their friendship and shared dream was unraveling. Luna, sensing this same shift, lightly took hold of Neville's hand, grounding both him and herself amidst uncertainty. "We can protect our sanctuary," Neville insisted, a fierce courage in his tone that had once been merely timid conviction. McGonagall nodded, acknowledging the spark of defiance within them both. "Continue your work, but be cautious. The past can be a tricky partner. Learn from it, respect it, but do not let it dictate your dreams." With that, she swept away, leaving behind the wisdom of experience and a challenge that now loomed over their sanctuary. Alone, Luna and Neville stood amidst the chatter of birds and the distant bustle of students. The challenge was a new presence between them, a test not just of their plans, but of the burgeoning connection that wove its intricate path through even the sternest of warnings. "Perhaps the bowtruckles can lend a branch or two," Luna mused, mirth returning to her eyes. "After all, we have to trust in what we plant, don't we?" Neville smiled, her words washing over him like a balm. "Trust and care," he agreed, holding her gaze a moment longer than seemed necessary. The days following Professor McGonagall's warning grew shorter, cloaked in the silver shroud of late autumn. Yet Luna and Neville did not retreat from their dream. Instead, they found themselves drawn even more to the hush of the forest, where each sigh of the wind seemed to carry ancient wisdom. One particular afternoon, as tendrils of mist curled lazily around the gnarled trunks, they stood together, fingers brushing orbit-like, gazing upon their burgeoning sanctuary. Bowtruckles, like tiny sentinels, watched curiously from the branches as Luna and Neville unfurled a plan of action. "Do you think we can really protect them all?" Neville asked, skepticism weaving through his resolve. Luna turned, her eyes luminous as ever. "We can start by protecting our own hopes." She paused, her expression softening. "Magic is a tapestry, Neville. It grows stronger when woven with intention and love, not unlike you and I." Her words, at once whimsical and profound, emboldened Neville. "Then we'll weave with every resource we have," he said, determination sparking anew. They set to work, embedding charms around the perimeter. Wards blossomed like intangible flowers, invisible barriers with the strength to deter any malevolent presence seeking to upset their delicate balance. In every whispered incantation, in every tendril of protective magic, a part of their hearts was enfolded. Their connection, once fragile, now felt fortified against the encroaching shadows. It was as though every seedling and every creature that nestled within this arcane refuge thrummed with the guardianship they offered. During a pause, Neville noticed Luna staring into the distance, fingertips grazing the bark of an old oak. "What is it?" he asked gently. "There are whispers of things yet to be," she murmured, a touch of sadness in her tone. "I sometimes wonder if the things we love can ever truly be ours." Neville hesitated, not from reluctance, but from the weight of words yet untold. "Luna, what we've started here is fleeting, just like those whispers, but it's real. What we create, it exists because of us." Luna's gaze met his, their unvoiced affections blossoming in the evening's gentle hush. In that quiet acknowledgement, an unspoken promise held them. As if in response, the forest seemed to wrap itself around them protectively. The faint rustle of bowtruckles became almost a melody, joining their shared breath, a symphony promising renewal. In their sanctuary, amid the hushed rustle of leaves and the layered allegiances of new life, Luna and Neville found a fleeting moment where past burdens and future uncertainties dissolved, leaving only the profound immediacy of now. It was a turning point, a place where dreams and reality blurred into a singular truth invincible to the world's capricious tide. Winter had settled over Hogwarts, draping the castle and the forest beyond in a serene white blanket. The world held its breath in a timeless stillness, lulled by the soft symphony of snowflakes dancing to the earth. Luna and Neville walked side by side, their sanctuary cloaked now only in the gentle quietude of the season. "Isn't it beautiful how everything feels at peace, even just for a moment?" Luna mused, her eyes trailing the delicate tapestry woven by the snow. Neville nodded, the chill air stinging his cheeks with each breath. "It feels like the world is reconnecting, like it's allowing itself to heal," he replied, feeling the sentiment resonate not just around them, but within. At the heart of their sanctuary, the trees stood patiently, holding the whispers of spring in their branches. Neville and Luna's efforts were reflected in the sturdy resilience of the place, each creature and sapling a testament to their shared dream. As they paused, watching a small herd of mooncalves prance in the clearing, Neville felt a warmth spread through him that had nothing to do with the woolen scarf wrapped around his neck. "Luna," he said softly, "no matter where our paths lead from here, I want you to know this has been the most meaningful part of my journey." Luna turned to him, a radiant smile lighting her features, brighter than any summer's day. "I think we've found something here, in this moment, that's ours, something that grows with us, wherever we wander." Their hands found each other, fingers lacing together in the crisp, quiet air. The world seemed vast and open, adventures unexplored yet waiting. And in that expanse they felt a new certainty, that their bond, a profound tapestry of friendship and love, was an everlasting beacon, guiding them through any twilight.